Welcome, team. Please jump in the chat panel. Let us know if you've been coming to these fortnightly GOI Open Teaching Group classes. If you have, I'm going to assume you've been loving them because you keep showing up. So thank you so much for being here. Also, jump into the chat panel. Let us know if it's your first class. And I do have a question before I hand over to Nat. I am Tom Cartwright, co-founder at GOI Full Spectrum Development. You can see Nat on the screen. He'll be jumping in a moment. The other co-founder, if it is your first class. Welcome. I had a quick question, and I'd love everyone to jump into the chat panel. When you see the title, "You don't create your own reality," what's the first thing that came up for you? Would love to know. Get a little
I would love to know
gauge.
because I don't actually know why this struck such a chord. It clearly did. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take an eye on these comments. Please, everyone jump in to the chat panel.
Yeah, I'd love to know what struck the chord. What interested you about this? Was it just the sheer polarity of it? Like, oh, hang on, we haven't heard this.
So getting some comments coming through. Sammy B's felt, thank goodness.
Right.
Karen's immediate felt experience was what? With many exclamation marks. Lauren sharing, it feels obvious.
Yes,
Renata
Lauren.
sharing.
It feels obvious. Class is done.
I know Lauren, and Lauren also got, can I get some logic and science to back it up?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yep. Okay. Please explain. Somebody sharing, really?
Nice.
Intrigued, polarity. Please explain. Hang on. Let me think about that for a moment.
Explain yourself, Goy. I feel like, Tommy, that's going to be a lot of us in the next coming years. Oi, yeah, cool. Explain yourself.
Oh, it's a bit of a vibe here, isn't it? Nat and I, we endeavor to do one thing, which is to bring reliable teachings and insights that you generally aren't accessing in the common or easy to access personal development industry. So I'm loving your comments here because, unless I'm mistaken, we have almost 40 people on the call who have a resounding, like, as Nat just said, can you guys explain yourself?
Explain yourself, people. Let's go. We got a lot to get through, TC, so let's get cracking.
Okay, cool. I'm going to hand over to Natty Hodges. He's going to take us through a very, very exciting class. I know he's personally been holding on to this one for a while. I'll be looking after the comments in the chat panel. Please engage as much as you can. For the moment, keep your microphones turned off. If you are in transit, feel free to turn your camera off. It's a little bit distracting for people. If you're sitting nice and still, stick with the camera on. And if there's a chance to engage, I will turn your microphone on. But please, for the communication method, just commenting through today, if that's okay. And also, don't sit back and watch this like a YouTube series. We're here to collaborate and connect together. Don't just digest this. Oh, these guys are just telling me that's what's true. Bring your objections, bring your own ideas and insights. And if you want to challenge Nat and myself, that's what we're here to do. Ready to rock and roll?
Nice.
Fantastic.
Tommy, what an intro. Jumped on. All right, let's go through this team. So when I was putting this together, the challenge for me is the following. There's almost endless ways I could answer the question or go through this. You don't create your own reality. Like, it was overwhelming for me to put it together because there was so much. But I picked 4 that will cover everything in the synopsis. But these 4, I think, will be the most accessible and probably just the most punchy, the most things you could really kind of get the most out of them. So let's break it down. Creating your own reality is the following. Ready? A mental projection derived from will. So when people say you can create your own reality, you can create a mental projection whenever you want. It's a mental projection derived from will, motivated by insecurity. Why would a human being want to create their own reality? 2 things. It's uncomfortable right now, or they want it to be different. Simple, right? So it's motivated by insecurity and injected with an illusory power of self-interest over all unfolding, which says this: my will, my self-interest, my reality, I can change it over all of unfolding of everything else that's not me. So that's why some people will go, yeah, that feels a bit obvious. You can't create your own reality. Yeah, because you can create a mental projection. That's not reality. Let's break it down. Will, there's a few big words in that sentence, in that little statement there. Will, I can change this. I have the will to change this. Insecurity, I must change this. So insecurity, I'm not talking about generalized, I'm insecure. I'm talking about the hardcore insecurity of human life. There's a hardcore insecurity about it that sits under the surface all the time. How do we create such a crazy belief that I can create my own reality? That is a projection of insecurity. Self-power, I am the creator. My power to create means I am the creator. This is the breakdown of creating your own reality: will, insecurity, and self-power. So we're going to go through 4 main issues with this, and they're kind of important. The first one's called the slow creep of alienation. The second one is the damage and distortion of the subtle body. The third one is injuring the conscience and damaged felt experience. You damage the felt experience when you try and create your own reality. And lastly, is you land in something called existentialism, which I'll go through. So there are 4 kind of points. Tommy, you've got the main synopsis there. Just as always, keep me on track, and I'll go for it. Okay, so you must not create your own reality. Let's have some fun with this. Let's get out of this kind of harmful belief and have some fun with something else. So the felt whole is selfhood. The felt whole. When you're feeling something, let's say feeling like you don't want to be where you're at, or you feel insecure, or it's uncomfortable, and you want to get out of that. I want to create a new reality. You damage the felt whole. You're not whole anymore because you're not feeling. So as soon as you get out of the felt whole, you're out of selfhood. And when you're in selfhood, when you're in that felt being, the felt experience, there's no need to create your own reality. So the felt whole is selfhood. Selfhood is something Tommy and I will talk about over and over and over again. It's not something to build or create. Selfhood is not confidence. It's not authenticity. Selfhood is an essential quality of nature, of the felt self. You don't need to do anything with it. Every time you create your own reality, every time you create something that you think you want, or a quote unquote reality that you want, you move away from this felt whole every single time. Every single time you want to get out of an uncomfortable feeling because you think you can, on your will, create something else, you slowly move away. So you might get a momentary relief of something because you might find a meaning, create a meaning, find an ulterior perspective, which can be helpful in the moment. But it's so surface, it's so surface, it's almost painful. So every time you enact this belief, every time you use this belief, you are creeping away into the self-image. You're moving from the felt whole. And every time you use will to create something different, you're reinforcing a self-image. And the self-image is insecurity. That's the most painful bit here, is every time you enact this belief with some kind of action or even will, then you can only do it through an isolated, alienated self-image.
Knowing that there's a couple of people here that it may be their first class, you and I and some of our followers completely appreciate that what we're doing at GOI, one of our major approaches is to move someone to live beyond the self, beyond the image. Can you just give a quick recap for anybody on the call on what you mean by self-image, and something that seems to be so prevalent in the world of psychology and human behavior is to create and live through an image?
Yes. 3 things that define the self-image. They all start with the same word. It's really important to kind of remember these. Sameness of identity, sameness of experience, and sameness of perception create a self-image. Sameness of identity, sameness of experience, which is the main one, and sameness of perception. They create an amorphous boundary, which you call the self. which you call I or whatever. And what happens is no matter, you're creating all these different realities, right? Because you think you can do that. But if you actually check in, you're actually having the same experience over and over and over. That's where that's where this thing falls down. Is that, yeah, you can create all these different realities if you want on the surface. You can create all these projected realities. But if you want to be real with yourself, if you want to be honest with yourself, your felt experience of life and you is exactly the same.
Would an example there not be over the years of my own professional coaching journey, looking back, I noticed there was a handful of years there where I just shape shifted the way I experienced anxiety. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it was just
At
the
the end of
fucking
the
same.
day, it's the same experience. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. So we have something called the self-ego axis. This is, imagine a psychic thread between selfhood, and ego or image. Imagine there's a thread between those two things, because there is. Some people have nice access into selfhood. Some people don't. So creep is this. It's the gradual severing of gnosis. Gnosis just means I have a knowing in myself. I know this is me. Of course it's me. It's obvious. There's gnosis, so I have a knowing. The gradual severing of gnosis, I know, down to a floating self-image of creation. I've created this self-image. This is, in fact, textbook alienation. So you can go ahead and create your own reality, but the end result will be sameness of experience and a deep alienation. Like you'll feel alone all the time. That's leading us off the bat.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Nat. And
Yeah.
everyone jump to the chat panel, a little bit of a pulse check. 10 minutes in, pulse check, how we doing? Landing, resonating, valuable, beneficial, going over your head, not understanding it, not
Yeah,
agreeing. Love it.
please
Where are you at?
let us know. Oh,
Now, Nat,
yeah,
I want to dive into this one on
sure.
behalf of the team. Talk to us about a little bit about the alienation, because
Yeah.
I've been in the industry for coming up 10 years, and there's a handful of members in this industry professionally for over 10 years now. And there's
Yeah.
a common, often resounding resistance and barrier that individuals really just struggle to completely overcome, remove, deal with in some form of way, which is loneliness. And I
Yeah.
want you to link or talk to us a little bit about loneliness and
Yeah.
it never being able to be dealt with if you're living life through a self-image.
Yeah. Loneliness gets handled the most in philosophy, not psychology. So most of where we've come from is a psychological background. We've done psychological learning, psychological education. But you'll notice that any psychological approach can't get its hooks into loneliness, because we enter something more existential. We enter something that's bigger than psychology. When we talk about loneliness and alienation, we must think bigger than mind. We must think bigger than psychology. That's why we're going to get into a little bit of philosophy today. But philosophy, especially the darker philosophy, really tries to aim at alienation and loneliness, because it is so tricky. It's so tricky to understand. You can be in a group of people, you can be married, you can have a great family, you can have siblings and still feel completely alone. So loneliness is not psychological, it's philosophical and existential. It's a different ball game altogether. Jordan Peterson is a nice bridge from psychology into philosophy. He's quite a lonely guy, you can tell.
We've got a question coming through on that note, Nat, which
Yeah.
Brent's asking, we can only experience reality within our mind. So is that the creation?
Depends what you mean by mind. Depends what you mean by mind. I don't want to get too hard into the transpersonal because we'll get lost in the woods. Like, I want to stick to the slides here because this is an important session. So I'll field some questions the best I can. But if we dip too far into theorizing, we'll lose the touch. Is that cool? Cool.
Yeah, that's great.
We want to keep it all clicking. We don't want to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people resonating through the comments. Isabel sharing, wow, that's huge. Definitely resonating with the loneliness bit. Love that comment, Susie. Hey, Jamie, great to see you here.
So I actually will. No. Yeah, I will actually. We'll do this now. There's a narcissistic part in this, which we have to talk about. Narcissism is not, they're not bad people. Narcissists are not bad people. They've been nailed the last few years. I'll give you a quick little rundown on how narcissism actually happens. Narcissism is when human people have a very, very, very deep experience. They have deep wells of emotion, but they don't know how to talk about them and they don't know how to deal with them. So all narcissistic people start with two problems. I don't know how to talk about my feelings. I don't even know what they are. Like, I don't know, my words and my feelings are not linked together. And I don't know how to handle these feelings. But so every narcissist starts there. From there, they end up in borderline personality disorder first. Every narcissist goes through BPD, and then they end up at narcissistic traits, which hurt people. So they're really deep, sensitive people that can't deal with the felt experience, create alternate personalities, and then end up with narcissistic behavior, right? Creating your own reality is a narcissistic behavior. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You unhook your words from your feelings and you don't ever tolerate or endure difficult human experience. So when people go around with this belief, I create my own reality, they eventually create what's called narcissistic fantasy spaces, a space in which I've designed. And in this design, you're either in the design or out of the design. And if you're in the design, I value you. If you're not in the design, I'm scared of you. So that this belief has a little dangerous side, because not only do you get alienated more into this ego function. The only thing the ego function knows how to do is self-interest. So it just creates rules and beliefs that are totally self-interested. That's the ego part. That's the fantasy spaces part.
Jump in the chat panel team. Sorry, who's experienced this before? I can't be the only one. Hang on, should have said that.
It was me. That what I described was me. How did I figure that out? Me.
and one of the reasons I'm going to keep picking Nat's brain on this here is because there's so many of our beautiful Goy members and followers that are in this space professionally. And one of the things that I found really hard when it came to this teaching and lesson a few years ago is thinking I'd come so far, and I had come so far to remove myself from drama and pain and shame and problem, the zero to hero journey, and you've turned your life around and all that. But at the same time, this underlying sense of anxiety and loneliness, because people are either with me, my value system, you're either a hero, if you're a victim, go away. There's boundaries in place. As Nat said, there's this, you're either in my level of comprehension or you're not. But you can get stuck in it because if you're well educated, you have frames of thinking like, but I value everyone else's opinion and it's just a journey and they're going to get there. So there's these real subtle ways in your mind that you try to link it and it feels like you're connected, but it's just on a psychological level. So I want to hear from some people. Jump to the chat panel, something you've experienced, not so much. Great. Danielle sharing that last bit really landed and made a lot of sense to the class. Thank you.
Great. Just
beautiful. Great comments.
As well.
Yeah, we've got 35 left.
Great. Okay. Let's do it. Quick. This is a nice little one too. The subtle mind and the subtle body. We'll start with what we mean by the gross body. If you're going to take a little man here on the screen, the gross body is the physical body, the organ system, the active thought, and the executive mind, right? Everyday thinking on the surface. Now, when we use this, which we do, if you're going to create your own reality, you have to use the executive mind. You have to use active thought, which is gross thinking. That's why it's so damaging, is because you literally distort things. You're taking this thing called will and active thought and creating a world. So it's too surface, right? What happens is we also have something called the subtle body and the subtle mind. The subtle body is the meta system. The subtle body is deeper and more intricate and more complex than the gross body. A meta system is just the bigger system, right? The more complex one. So if you're going to use executive mind to create a reality, then you're using a lower level functioning and you're actually damaging the subtle body. So inside the subtle body, you have the felt experience, you have the energetic body, intuitive thought, organs of perception, And in the subtle body is sensitivity to truth and falsehood. Now, when you try to create your own reality, you distort and damage the subtle body because it's not true. You're creating it. You're creating it in and amongst everything else. Is you're using a gross, limited function, which then damages a more sensitive, more complex part of you. Why do people get manipulated in the first place? Because simply they are not sensitive to truth versus falsehood. No human being should ever be manipulated. Why? Because you feel it immediately. When people get manipulated, they can't feel contradiction. Why can't people feel contradiction? Because their subtle body is damaged. Their subtle body is like one lie and you'll damage your subtle body. That's how sensitive it is. It's subtle for a reason. It's super subtle. One lie will damage your subtle body. So you can no longer pick up truth versus falsehood. If you create your own reality, you're manipulating things, you won't be able to pick up contradiction in other people, and you'll be sucked into their fantasy spaces. So what's organ of perception, OOP? An organ of perception is a thing called the etheric brain. Everyone here, you're all highly developed, right? I know for a fact that you've all had this experience. You get to a stage where you're judging people all the time. You just can't help it, right? You can't help it. You're judging people. And you go, oh, I'm judging. I'm so judging. I'm so judging. I've got to stop that. No. Please don't ever stop judging people. The etheric brain is the discerning brain. It feels like judgment. But what's happening is this organ of perception, this sensitive organ turns on, which is trying to define for you truth versus falsehood. You're not judging people. You're actually trying to feel what parts of them are true, what parts of them are false. So you don't get manipulated. So you can choose truth, so we can be good human beings. But if you damage your subtle body, the etheric brain doesn't turn on, and then you're left with your thinking. You're gonna navigate this crazy world with your thinking. It's like there's more to this picture. So this sensitive, just really simply, if you engage in this belief, you damage the subtle body. If you damage the subtle body, you'll never be able to feel truth versus falsehood, which means you're open to contradiction, you're open to manipulation, you're open to going nowhere, really. It's a meta system. The subtle body is more complex and more subtle than the gross body. Check in, please, because how are we doing with that? So like a goy, right? If you're, I value everyone's opinion, or I don't want to judge people. We go the opposite, which is like, you don't have to value everyone's opinion. You don't have to like people. Like you don't, you know what I mean? You can judge people and still be okay. That's fine because you have to. Yeah. It's actually more human. It's actually way more human to be like, I don't like that person. Why? I don't know. I just don't really like. That's fine. That's all good here. You can.
So many comments coming through. I'll just take a moment to read any that may be beneficial for everyone. Heather's asking, can it be repaired?
Yes, great question. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes, it can, and fast. Most of your struggles as a person, most of them come down to one thing. You are not sensitive to truth versus falsehood. You would have been allured by the false, convinced by the false. Your mind would have been convinced, even though your sensitivity was saying, no. Your mind would have been convinced of its truth, but really it was false, and you kind of knew, and you knew that.
This is the time of the call, about halfway in, where individuals often start jumping to the chat panel saying, cool, so how do I fix this? And what do I do about this? We'll leave that for the end,
Yeah. Just for right now, just feel what is happening. looking at this content, feeling as we go through it. Yeah, it's a feeling process from here with this stuff. I mean, simple things like, really honestly, simple things like good food, clean food, open environments, like good content, good media. One thing that will wreck your subtle body straight away is doom scrolling. Doom scroll, because it's what you're exposing imagine your subtle body is just a sensitivity to truth and falsehood. Let's just do that. It's just sensitive to true versus false. If you really like, I've been doing experiments on myself my whole life. Basically, I'll go into a really nice meditation or an inquiry or something, and be really nice and in my heart, and and really loving and doing all this, whatever. And then I'll pick up my phone and scroll, and it just feels like this, like immediately, because I'm exposing my subtle body to random beliefs. It's too fast. It freaks everything out. There's too many value systems going on. It's too materially stimulating. So, just scrolling on the phone, your subtle body and subtle mind will just basically shut down. So the subtle body also holds the subtle mind, just like the gross body, physical body, holds the gross mind. I mean, all you guys know how to live healthy and clean and do the right thing, which feels good. That just means that I'm looking after my subtle body. And when you realize that it's a meta system, when you realize it's more complex and more reliable than executive mind, all you want to do is look after it. You'll put food in your mouth and you'll be like, this can't be in my body, out. When someone's subtle body really starts to turn on, is alcohol will start to respond really differently, because alcohol really only has a quote unquote positive effect in the gross and physical body. So in the gross mind and the gross body, alcohol will be enjoying and fun and freeing. But as soon as the subtle body turns on and starts to access some truth, alcohol will just feel astringent, acidic, and like razor blades. So that's basically for all substance, guys, like all narcotics. If you're into substances, go nuts. If you primarily live in your gross body, then substances will be fun and relieving and great experiences and all this cool stuff, because substances are manipulating the physical body, chemistry, right? As soon as the subtle body turns on, and if you take in chemicals, chemistry, then it'll just it'll really feel uncomfortable. Even coffee, tea, like it all changes. Okay. So nice little animation there, just to show you the subtle body is the bigger body. It is the more complex. It is the more sensitive, right? It's the more true. So back to what are we doing here? Creating your reality moves you away from the subtle body and damages it at the same time. In fact, you won't know what's true or false if you keep creating your own reality. You'll get lost. You'll actually get lost in your own psyche. You'll get lost and really confused. You'll eventually have a mental breakdown, and that's guaranteed. By the way, if you keep creating your own reality, you will have a mental breakdown. It'll crack. You'll crack.
Can you just speak to that? Because I was about to ask a question now. Like, what does one do when potentially some of us may have been kind of like, it's a hard word, but kind of indoctrinated into the development of your psyche and your psychological space, and create mental patterns, themes, and processes so that you feel safe, what you believe, what you feel, what your values are. And then you just say, well, that's going to guarantee ending up in a breakdown. Talk to us about that.
Where do all the breakdowns happen? People who are in the personal development space, that's where all the breakdowns happen. Like, they don't happen anywhere else. Because people not in the personal development space have never heard you create your own reality. That would be too confusing for them. They've just got more traditional values. They have hard times, but they normally endure. They don't really have breakdowns. Like I'm talking proper breakdowns. All the breakdowns happen inside the personal development space. Not all, you know what I mean? The majority. Way more than people not engaging in that. You've engaged, if you've done 5 years of personal development, you guaranteed a breakdown in there somewhere, like a big one. Because you're tinkering with things all the time. Tinker. All right. Time check, Tommy.
Give you another 20, Nat.
Great, let's do it. Okay, so the subtle body, and this is moving on now to the conscience. So the conscience, everyone knows what the conscience is, right? It's another organ of perception, these subtle organs of perception. We spoke about the etheric brain. Now we're going to talk about the conscience. People say it's a little voice in my head. Sure, that's exactly what it is. Let me outlay this for you. The conscience, an organ of perception in the psyche that acts as a personalized compass towards greater harmony, not what you want or what you think is good or morality, just harmony. Right? So the conscience points to greater harmony. In experience, this is felt as an ever increasing experience of meaning and that you matter. So your conscience, that little voice is pointing you to harmony in a reality that's bigger than you, that you cannot create, because it wants you to be harmonized. It wants you to be harmonized. Harmonization is the felt experience of, there's meaning there. Meaning is I'm the right person doing the right thing at the right time. Of course, it's me. I matter. Meaning is matter. Same thing. I matter. Is I have meaning. Now, we have two very different poles of the story here. I create my own reality, right? Which is never listening to your conscience at all. Self-designed meaning of will, you never feel like you matter. Ever. Because how can you feel like you matter if in the moment you can just change reality? You will never actually feel like you matter because you're not clicked into a deeper harmony. Now, let's understand the conscience, because the conscience is the opposite to this. The conscience is going, no, I don't want to create shit. I just want to listen. I have these dots here to show, because there are some people's conscience that's like really damaged, and you can tell. When someone's conscience is really damaged, they like hurting themselves. They might not say that, but they will do intense things. They will seek intense experience. They may even physically harm themselves. They will put their body in danger. They might even do really, really, really intense exercise. But when someone's conscience is really damaged, the person, and they enjoy pain in some way. And this can be, as I said, like that, or it can be full-blown kind of self-sabotage. Is, well, I'll just make things really hard on myself all the time. When the conscience starts to heal by one simple way, align to truth, at all costs, align to truth, then the person just goes, I'm unhappy. You start to admit, I'm really unhappy. Actually, you know what? I'm fucking unhappy. Notice how, like, there's a power in that. A conscience on the way to healing and recovering meaning is willing to admit, I'm unhappy. If it goes even further, then the conscience starts to speak to you and it says, you shouldn't be doing this. Listen up, team. This is critical. This is really critical. The conscience, the thing pointing you to greater harmony in a reality bigger than you that you cannot create, whispers and says, you shouldn't be doing this. And we go, oh, but why? But I can do what I want. But I want this now. It doesn't even matter why. It doesn't even matter the reason. If the conscience says don't do it, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's bigger than you. Right. So if you're going, oh, I'm gonna eat cheese and crackers, and the conscience says probably shouldn't do that, and you go, yeah, but at my calories, yeah, but I'm going to train this afternoon, Yeah, but I like it. Yeah, but I need a break. All that rationalization is so petty compared to this subtle organ saying, don't do that. The cheese and crackers is not cheese and crackers to the conscience. The cheese and crackers to the conscience is disharmony. So it says, don't do this. It's not about fucking cheese and crackers or training or anything else. It's disharmony. And it's not even up to you to know why the cheese and crackers are not harmonized. Don't burden yourself with that. When the conscience says don't do this, it's saying you're out of harmony with a reality way bigger than you, and you will get slapped for this. You must start obeying. What a weird word to use, huh? What a weird word to use. You must start obeying that whisper. Because there's a harmony and reality way bigger than you, desiring you to come back. You probably shouldn't watch this extra episode of Netflix. Oh, but I want to. When the conscience is really clean and really firing. Oh, by the way, next one down. Next one down. I feel guilt and shame. If you do anything and you feel guilt and shame, please just stop. Please, please, please. Again, there is something way bigger than you trying to harmonize with you. And the way it'll show up, if you don't get the active words of you shouldn't be doing this, then you'll get guilt and shame. Now, what do we do as all of us are budding psychologists? Why do you feel the guilt? Let's go into childhood stuff. What do you feel shameful for? What happened when you're a kid? How about we don't do any of that? And if you feel guilt and shame, just don't do it. Just stop the behavior immediately. Oh, but I shouldn't feel guilty. Oh, but I'm in my power, or I'm working towards something, or I'm sick of feeling shameful, so I'll just do it. Well, I'll do this when I want because I said I could. All that. I'm getting a little passionate now. I'll tone it down, Nathaniel. Just if you feel guilt and shame, do not psychologize yourself. Just stop the behavior and trust. When the conscience becomes healed and is healing, it changes its form. Then it does things like this. Instead of you shouldn't be like some oppressive thing, or you're guilty or you're shameful, like it's trying to oppress you, when really you should obey it, then it changes and becomes a collaborator. And it might say, hey, go see this person. And then you won't even ask why, you'll just go see the person. It might say, hey, go make this change now. And you go, okay. It might say, this is not a time to act. You can sit and rest. It starts to become your collaborator. And finally, it might just say, you're safe to relax now. You don't have to do anything. So we start from a conscience that is damaged and broken, someone who likes hurting themselves, completely alienated, completely alone, in a journey of truth only, not your reality, truth, very different. It's a feeling thing, all the way where your inner conscience, this inner voice, starts to collaborate with you. What a journey compared to constantly creating your own reality, right? What an amazing journey of honesty, of humility, of obeying, of surrender, of subtlety, of delicate action, this whole subtle world that's sitting there for you, which is more like poetry than got to get this done, got to create more reality. I need to stop talking for a bit.
Nat, I'll give you one sentence to stop talking for the question. And please wrap it up. Nat, how does one discern? We've got over 40 people on the call. How does someone on here discern that very subtle, specific understanding of this experience of the psychological language in the mind of you shouldn't be doing this? If it's not that, it's the felt experience of guilt and shame. How does someone discern that going back to do more false self-development work, shadow work, trigger
more
work,
more analyzing, or analyzing.
analyzing, and even processing. I could talk
Yeah,
about meditation, breath work, physical
sure.
massage, exercise. How
Yeah,
does someone discern the difference of like, cool, I am at a stage where if I keep going back to do this, I'm actually just avoiding and interrupting the conscious from directing me on where I need to go now.
yeah,
Because it is a
yeah,
different, in my opinion, different experience when you just start. You're so all over the shop. You're like, I need to do all this stuff.
yeah.
How does someone on the call start to discern, like, okay, shit, I'm getting it. I don't need to do more things to fix me to get the outcome that I want. I
Yes.
need to stop and I need to listen beyond the outcomes that I say I want.
Yeah, this is going to be a not very nice one because we don't like to hear this, but it really helps. Like if you truly want to do this, if this is resonating, then this is the step that I use, that I have used many times with clients, uh, is remind yourself over and over and over that you are not that important. You're just not that important. I know it's harsh and it's rough, but what that'll do if you're not that important, because everyone who's been stuck in that create my own reality thing is self-inflated, whether you know it or not. Like whether you know it, imagine an inflamed sore, imagine an inflamed joint. First thing you got to do is we've got to get the inflammation down. And the inflammation is that chattering self. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So the first thing we've got to get the inflammation down, which is, oh, hang on, I'm just not that important. I'll just wait. I'm not that important. I'm not special. I just got to wait. I got to wait. I got to get the inflammation down. I'm not that important. And it's not up to me all the time. And so everyone who's been stuck in that belief, you will be inflamed. There'll be a self-inflation, whether you like it or not. We've got to get the inflammation down so you can start to hear. If you can't hear the truth, if you can't hear these little subtleties, it means you're too inflamed. There's too much self-interest. I know we just got to work on the symptoms. I know it's harsh, but let's just be real here. The symptom is too much inflammation or self-inflation. So we've got to bring the self-inflation down. I'm not that special. My life is not that important. And if no one's going to die or the people around me. What about the people around me? They're fine. Trust me, they're fine. Even your kids, they're fine. Everyone's fine. Everyone's fine, and you're not that important. I know it's harsh, but that brings the inflammation down. It's like an ice pack.
I would love to jump in and get a pulse check, team.
Yeah, how was that? Because normally that's private stuff. But I don't, don't shoot me.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's jump to the chat panel, please. What do you notice with that? Beautiful. Wow. Geeking out. Thanks, Nat. Loving
Sweet.
it. But yeah, Lauren sharing that's jarring, but yeah.
Yeah, I know it's jarring. So is an ice pack on an inflamed sore. That initial jar, and then you get the oh.
Yeah, thanks, Sherilyn. Appreciate that comment. All right, Nat, we've got about 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Okay, existentialism. Okay, so we speak about alone. This is back to the top. This belief inflames you, so it inflates the self-image, but increases alienation. That's a relationship to always remember. If I'm going to boost up and inflate myself, I'm also going to be alienated. How do we start to handle this? Well, we've got to look at some philosophy. Existentialism, a philosophical position that in its final analysis places the responsibility of meaning on man's shoulders in the internal battle with the entity called the unknown. So I've got a diagram here. You'll see those names on the right. They're kind of the existentialists, Nietzsche, Peterson, Sartre, these guys. They're really dark. They're really, really dark people because they are deep, deep thinkers, but they are locked in a self really hard. So they land in existentialism. And existentialism is this. If you believe, existentialism kind of piggybacks off you create your own reality. What existentialism is they say, here's the deepest philosophy you can work with. You will face an eternal unknown. which sounds true, right? It sounds true. Every day you wake up and you'll face an internal unknown. It's your job in the face of that to create some human meaning. Otherwise, there's just suffering. That's existentialism. Make sure you lock that in, right? Every day you're going to face an eternal unknown. In the face of that, it's your job to create meaning. Otherwise, it's going to overwhelm you. That's where existentialism is, and it stopped. Their inquiry stops. And team, here's the best bit. That is not very deep. That's not very deep. It's just not very deep. These people these existentialists, their inquiry has stopped. Because to step further, say with me here, to step further where the unknown becomes known is a surrendering of the self structure into something more profound. And this collapse between self and unknown, this boundary, is the next inquiry. The reason why these philosophers can't go there or didn't go there is because you have to surrender what you think is your mind to continue on. If we keep creating our own reality, then you get locked. This is the last train stop for you. In other words, a life where anxiety must be taken as a constant and adjusted to forever with no reprieve. If you create your own reality, what you have underneath is a constant anxiety, because you'll end up in existentialism. And it's deep and dark and philosophical, but not the end. Existentialism is essentially going, I'm going to be anxious for life. I might as well adjust to it, but there's no reprieve. It pains me, team, to feel that people get stuck there, because the journey continues way beyond anxiety, way beyond this battle between man and unknown, right? It's actually kind of shallow. Where is the essential qualities? Where is states of mind? Where is our spiritual systems? Where is all of our religious understandings? Where's our mystical experiences? Where's our time waves? Where's all this really juicy stuff that fully collapses the unknown and go, hang on, we know way more here. Where's all our Eastern psychology? Where's all our Taoist theory? Where's all this stuff that takes anxiety and worry and laughs and says, oh my God, you pretty little things, there is no need to worry. Where's all that? But no, the Western European mind gets stuck here. It gets stuck here. Because other than this, then we kind of got to make this giant leap to, well, isn't there God? Like, isn't there a God thing after this? Too far, red car. Like, we can't go from here to God. It's too scary. It's too much responsibility. So existentialism is this last stop. If you create in reality, you get stuck here. Self versus eternal unknown, constant anxiety. And the existentialists say, well, you've got to create your own meaning and you've got to be creative. That's all they give you. That's all they give you. Meaning is up to you. And anxiety, just turn it into creativity. But you got to do that forever. There's way more to the picture, trust me. Where's the essential qualities? Where's the heart? Where's love? Where's love in this? It's not even spoken about. The mystery of love. So that's the class. Well done for sticking it out.
Jump into the chat panel, team.
How are we feeling?
I'm sharing amazing. Chris is sharing a bit like the battle of being versus becoming.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's no, yeah. The being versus becoming is the realm of becoming, which is time, which is this outside world, with time and future and next week. The realm of becoming just continues to become. Like, it doesn't do anything different, just continues to become. Doesn't actually do anything, doesn't actually take you anywhere. Being is the kind of step after this, and it's really technical and complex, but it's yeah. So you're right, whoever said that. It's the leap into being, but including becoming.
Tanya's asking a good question. I'm going to take the opportunity to plug here. What are the essential qualities?
Yeah,
Tanya,
yeah. Go, Tommy.
one of the things you'll find that kind of discerns or the difference between what we're doing at GOI and probably 95 to 98% of the personal development coaching market is the majority of companies you can generally access out there in the market, they're predominantly focusing on doing false self work. Okay. It's a lot of false self work. I'm in my false self. I need to get out of my false self. I need to do my childhood development work. I need to do my values work, my beliefs work. I need to develop my psychology. I need to learn to process emotions. Once I've done
Two
that, I might dip
goals.
into some spirituality realm, etc., etc., etc. The essential qualities is the essential self. And it is actually the art of stepping into the essential self beyond having to do false self work. And one of the things we're aware of, or we're big believers in, that a lot of people are actually ready for essential self work now.
Yeah.
And if you meet up and team up with the wrong program or the wrong specialist, they're going to not know that. And they're going to go, oh, it looks like because you're not in your essential self, you need to do more self stuff, more
Yeah,
false self work.
you just loop around therapizing over and over and over.
We go. So I love your question. What are the essential qualities? There's a more than a handful of them. It's what we specialize with at GOI. And then our members, whilst they're working on essential self, we also dare to dabble into the real self, which I've got a video I can send you that brings them back. And we dabble in that realm and that loop of developing the essential self, real
Yeah.
self, back into essential self over and over again.
There's just way more territory out there than what you're being exposed to. And it's subtle and it's delicious and it's felt and it's alive and it works. That's the crazy thing. Like, it works. We all set out to this personal development journey because we all feel something. We all feel something is going on here. Dipping into the essential world, it works. And this is from Vedanta. Vedanta will have the world of the child, which is a world of time, birth, and death. They also have the dual world, and the dual world is the world of our essential qualities that arise within, underneath all these barriers.
Thanks so much, Louise. I know it's your first class. Welcome.
First classes, how good.
Oh, Nat, I'll
Yeah,
mention Louise. Louise is up for this one. This
that
is, yeah.
Louise.
Louise is sharing best takeaway for the unknown to become the known is a surrender of the self structure.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Such a big topic, which is a great to be part of the conversation. You're welcome, Sherilyn. Thanks so much for being here. Beautiful. Team, I never normally do this, but if anybody's on this call and would like to unpack this a little bit more so regarding your own specific experience and where you might be and how you might want to begin the journey of life beyond creating your own reality, I've got a few 30-minute, we call them walk and talk sessions with Tommy. So if you'd like 30 minutes of my time to throw the joggers on and walk and talk about this topic with me, please send me a message. It's free. It's complimentary. You're welcome. Send me a message on Facebook. Say, hey, Tommy, can I jump on a call with you? And over the next 3 weeks, I'll book those in with you guys just as a gift, saying thanks for being here and rocking out for the full hour with us.
Tommy likes to get his exercise in and talk at the same time. I can't do walk and talks.
Very, very important. And that doesn't have a minute in the day because he loves 10 sessions back to back.
I'm in New Zealand at the moment. I'm not doing much. So this is good for me. This is fun.
Loving all the comments coming through. Can't see any questions. Please, if anybody's on the call and isn't a part of the GOI Facebook group and you're on Facebook, jump in there because the questions that come through, I have been taking note of some of the ones that we didn't answer. And Nat and I will be dropping some bonus lives in that private Facebook group.
One more thing before you go. Sorry, guys. This is a big topic and it's kind of a bit of a passion one for me. So there's an FSD 30-minute call, a full spectrum development 30-minute call with me. I want to put that out there too. If you want to jump on with 30 minutes for me, if you're not a member already and you're like, that hit something and I want to keep it going, Tommy, we'll get that link to you somehow.
I'll email everybody right now with that FSD link. If you haven't had a session already with Nat, jump in. It's complimentary 30-minute full spectrum development diagnostic. If you're interested to know specifically exactly where you stand in regards to the three selves journey, your structures of mind and your states of mind and what the next steps are for you, jump on that. Would everyone like it if I just sent it out an email right now with that booking link?
Great. Yeah, happy to. It's a bit of an important call, this one. It's nice.
You're welcome, Heather. Thanks, Sherilyn. Kelly, lovely to meet you. I don't think we've met before. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Kelly.
Karen, lovely to have you here as always. That's the end of the call, guys. If you want to jump off, jump off. I'm going to keep an eye on this for any last minute questions. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Reese. Thanks, everyone. Epic call. 40 peeps, hey? 40 peeps
Nice.
diving into this
Well
learning.
done.
Massive. Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. I can see it's big love. So thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.